webcast on the SI factor, success via information. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation today. My name is Mark Shamley. I am the Chief Operating Officer for the World Federation of Youth Clubs. And this is our first webcast of 2021. How exciting is that? So just a quick reminder that this session is being recorded and we will, of course, share a link on our website for you to share with your constituents and folks around the world who aren't able to join us today. Welcome, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, from wherever you are in the world. Welcome to today's webcast. The agenda today is obviously just going through some housekeeping things that we just want to bring to your attention to ensure that you have an outstanding webcast experience this morning. We're gonna, of course, I will introduce our guest speaker, Pattie, and then we'll have a facilitated conversation, and then we're gonna open things up for a little back and forth of a discussion. So yeah, we wanna make sure that everyone is on mute, and so everyone is on mute, and until the Q&A part of the webcast. And so please use the chat feature to communicate or raise hands or ask any questions if something comes up. But again, we will provide ample time for Q&A towards the latter part of the discussion. And then as a suggestion, just to make sure you have the best viewing experience, in the upper right-hand corner of Zoom, if you guys are using your computers, if you click there on the view, you can change to the speaker or side-by-side speaker view. And then this will give you an opportunity to see myself and Pattie, and then also the others that will be joining on the call when we make the switch over. So as typical, what I try to do is do a little reminder of all of our sessions about who we are and what we do. As you can see, our mission is really to develop, advance, and enhance global youth organizations that provide positive environment and safe places for young people. That is what we do at the World Federation of Youth Clubs. And that is, of course, is our purpose, is to develop and strengthen youth organizations all around the world. So keeping in mind, this is part of that, this experience is part of that goal and that mission and that purpose. In terms of value proposition, there are a number of elements and things that we're continuing to build on around these three key elements of our value prop. That's guide and consult, the personalized one-on-one assistance that you get from World Federation leaders like Glenn and Jose, customized training programs to meet the needs of your organization and your staff people, and of course doing the assessments to establish a benchmark on where you are in your organization, and then ultimately a training and assistance plan to help you achieve your short-term and long-term goals. The second key area is around network and learning. This format virtually, as well as our conference, opportunities for us to connect with you, but also to connect with each other. And so we're excited to be on the call with you today, and also we'll be gathering in the latter part of February for our annual conference. And then our big picture is around the promotion and amplification of youth development as a whole and your work. And so the World Federation of Youth Clubs stands ready to make sure that we provide a platform where we can talk about the good work that you're doing and celebrate your organizations, your staff, and of course, your young people. So that's my quick commercial. The resources, what it looks like in terms of activation is, of course, we provide a network and partnerships with a number of collaborators who have expertise in youth development, like Boys and Girls Clubs, Special Olympics, and others. I mentioned the one-on-one consultation that you receive, and then the online community with our website will be launching at our annual conference. And here we are today at the first webcast of 2021. So with that, that kind of gives you a reminder and a touch base on the World Federation. We're going to do a quick chat check-in. So let's make sure everyone is able to use the chat feature. So we devised this little kind of fun chat check-in. So what I'd like to hear from is, what is your favorite type of food? For me, it's pepperoni pizza. Unfortunately, I can't eat a lot of pepperoni pizza this day because I need to watch my weight. So that's my, oh, sushi, oh, spaghetti, oh, yes, roast beef. I don't know about that, Martin. So anyway, thank you guys for the quick chat check-in. It's always fun to hear from you guys. Oh, someone said Thai. Oh, that is delicious. So with that, let's get into the presentation and opportunity to, well, I shouldn't say presentation, conversation with Pattie, but I have a couple of quick remarks here. So this is a conversational format, right? And so you'll see from time to time us using different formats depending on the topic and the speaker and sort of the plans for engagement. So this is going to be a bit of a back and forth conversation. There'll be two main threads for today's discussion. One is how to use social media to connect with kids, and Pattie is doing some really cool stuff in regards to working with young people and connecting with them. And then ultimately, we'd like to tie in sort of how to manage this medium as it relates to the quarantine and how youth and families can sort of tap into this platform to better connect with young people. So those are kind of the two main threads, and then we'll see where the discussion takes us. So with that, it's my pleasure and my honor to introduce Pattie Ehsaei. And Pattie is the Senior Vice President of Mergers and Acquisitions Lending at First Bank and has been in the financial services sector for 17 years. Prior to this role, Pattie has held several leadership roles for major financial institutions. She was also the managing partner and head of business development for GRID Partners, a boutique investment banking firm focused on raising capital for the development of green energy projects. Pattie also holds a BA from the University of Colorado at Boulder, and also she has a law degree from the University of Chicago. She served as an assistant state's attorney with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office in Chicago. Pattie is licensed to practice law in Illinois and California, and she is a resident in Los Angeles, California, and serves on numerous boards. So welcome, Pattie, to the World Federation of Youth Clubs January 21st webcast. So here's my first question for you, Pattie. You have a background in law and in financial services. So what made you want to sort of connect with young people? There's got to be something there about your background that said, hey, this is sort of something I want to do. Please share.
So I am an immigrant and I moved to the United States from Iran when I was 7. So I didn't speak a word of English, and my parents were immigrants as well. And I found that as a young person, I really had to figure things out on my own. And I was lucky enough to make it out. You know, my parents didn't have a lot of money. So I was lucky enough to make it out and, be what I consider successful. So because of that, I really wanted to find a way to give back to the youth. And I've done a lot of work with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and I just became really involved with them and the Boys and Girls Club. And I just really started to have a passion in teaching kids things that I wish someone would have taught me when I were younger. So that's really the focus. And I think it's really important for people to give back to the youth because they're typically forgotten. And I want to be one of their biggest champions and help them do whatever it takes to succeed.
So thank you for doing that. That's really powerful in terms of that passion of yours to serve youth based on your experiences growing up. So how did that turn to the SI factor? Like, talk to me about your vision for this organization, this movement. Is it fair to call it a movement, or
That's what I call it.
that's what you call it? Okay, so yeah, let's call it a movement. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so uh, the quarantine was probably the best thing that could have happened for me because prior to the quarantine, I was scheduled to go. I speak regularly at Big Brothers and Big Sisters events and various youth events, and I was scheduled to go do that. And when the shutdown happened, all of those were canceled. So I started to think about, okay, well, how can I connect with the youth now? And the only way to do it was virtually. So I kind of brainstormed and I came up with ideas. And it really came out of my desire to connect with the youth, even though I wasn't able to attend the session. So I thought about it. I woke up at 2:30 in the morning and I started writing things down, and it was about making videos to really teach the youth and young adults things that they didn't know and things that will help them navigate the world better. So that's really how it came about.
So you had no previous experience whatsoever in this medium. Like, I mean, your
No,
background was in law, you were
none.
in financial services, and all of a sudden you are finding yourself wading into this new medium
Yes,
of connecting with folks all over the world, right? It's fair to say
yes,
that you reach
yes,
people all over the world, correct?
yes.
And what was the learning curve like? I just want to dig a little bit deeper on that. Like, how did you go from ground zero to putting out these almost weekly sort of sessions, videos, connecting with young people on a various array of topics?
Yeah, I have to be honest, I was a Facebook user and that's it. I didn't know how to do anything else. But like anything else that you do, you have to do your homework.
Right.
So what I did is I did tons of research on the internet on the best way to do the videos. I actually was very lucky enough to have someone, my boyfriend's niece, who had her own YouTube channel.
Hmm.
So I tapped her as a resource and I asked and spoke with as many people as I possibly could about how to do this and how to go about doing this. So I tapped the experts and did a lot of homework prior to even starting.
Got it. So there, I'm going to come back to this point because this is an important point for
Sure.
the folks that are on this call, because sometimes we have the perception that this is some really complicated, in-depth kind of space where you have to spend hours or days or weeks or trying to figure out how to build your knowledge base. A lot of it is just trial and error, I would imagine, and move
Absolutely.
forward. Okay, so we'll come back
Absolutely.
to that. So you could have done a blog, you could have did a website and all that stuff, but you landed from in terms of your communication method on videos, right? So doing videos, but primarily videos. Can you talk a little bit about why you said, okay, this is the medium that's best suited for what I'm attempting to do?
Well, I think it's really important for people to be able to see your face and hear your voice
Hmm.
because that is one of the best ways to make a connection with someone.
Okay.
With a blog or anything like that, they really don't see you, they don't hear your voice. So I think that just makes it a little bit less personal. And also with the videos, they have an opportunity to subscribe so they know when a new video is up and comment and ask questions in the video itself. So that adds another personal touch and allows me to really connect with the audience more.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So you mentioned Facebook that was kind of where you were before in terms of your social media expertise, right?
Yes.
So, but what social platforms are you using now in this particular medium that you're working on?
So for Facebook, I typically use that personally. I
Okay.
have not used it for the SI factor only because when now it's gotten better because of the quarantine, but right in the beginning of the quarantine, Facebook really didn't have a lot of video options. So I started on YouTube and I started doing YouTube videos. And the benefit to YouTube is that you can have your video be as long as you want without any limitations, and you just put it up there. I think the downside of YouTube is that since you can make your videos as long as you want, the attention span of the youth, which I learned later, is not that long. So even a 5 to 8 minute video is just too long for them to sit and listen to. So I went to Instagram, but learned that Instagram is more for pictures and it really wasn't a great place for videos. Then I finally have landed on TikTok. And TikTok seems to be where I've had the most success. Since the beginning of the year, I have almost 20,000 followers. So it's been very, very successful for me all over the world. And you can make 1 minute videos. And that seems to be, again, this attention span of the youth. And that really has been the best platform for me. But now a lot of people are starting to use Facebook to be able to do these types of videos and communicate because they have the functionalities.
Yeah, because this is something we were talking about before as we were preparing for today's conversation, and about Facebook, right? Because it's the reach is like so significant. I don't know what the number is, like 3 billion around the world, and there's lots of different platforms. You mentioned TikTok and YouTube, and there's Twitter, and there's all of these ways in which people connect. And sometimes that can seem very intimidating in terms of trying to figure out how to navigate, because you can't necessarily navigate all of those, but many of our affiliates are all over the world. They have a range of different access to social media platforms. Some of them are the more standard ones that we're talking about today. But if we're thinking about, say, reach, right, just getting to where people are, if you were to approach Facebook, how would you sort of suggest we or our affiliates kind of sort of navigate or utilize that particular platform? Do you have any recommendations or any ideas?
So on any social media platform, what's important is the algorithms. The algorithms is what the platform uses to promote your videos or not to promote your videos. And it's different for every platform. So for example, for TikTok, they will show your videos more if you post at least 2 to 3 videos a day. That's for TikTok.
Okay.
For YouTube, it's something different. But for Facebook specifically, Facebook doesn't encourage people posting 2 to 3 times a day for some reason. So right now, what Facebook does is their algorithms like people that post probably once, maybe twice a day. If you want to post once in the morning, once in the evening. So that is the algorithm that Facebook likes. But typically, the best time, from what I understand, to post on Facebook is Wednesdays between 9 to 3 p.m. time.
There's a specific time. That's cool. Okay.
Yes, exactly. But if you're posting daily, anytime between 9 to 3 p.m. Eastern time, I think is a safe place to start.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so let's talk about equipment, right? Because most of us are just kind of walking around with these things, right? And so, and what I'm learning, like I got like camera and lighting and all that stuff now, and it's I'm sure you had to kind of amp up your production game, right?
Yes,
What
yes.
kinds of, okay, so we don't have a lot of, say for those affiliates with not a lot of resources, right? We have to keep in mind that the reality is that some of our organizations are not able to invest in real sophisticated equipment, but my understanding is you don't need sophisticated equipment and expensive equipment to do these kinds of things. Can you talk a little bit about your investment there and how you were able to kind of produce those high quality videos that we see on YouTube?
Sure. So I film everything on my iPhone.
Oh, wow.
And yes, everything's on my iPhone because
Okay.
iPhone really has great capacity to film. I could I could potentially go to a GoPro, but I really like the iPhone functionality for now. So everything's on my iPhone. However, I've just souped it up a little bit. So what I've done is I bought an exterior mic that just plugs right into my iPhone.
Okay.
That's really important because sound and lighting are very, very important when you're doing videos. So you want to make sure that your lighting is good so they can see you and they can hear you clearly. So a microphone, you can buy a microphone for $30, I think, on Amazon, or there's some even cheaper than that. And some type of lighting, like a halo, like I bought a freestanding halo, was $60 from Amazon. But you don't
Okay.
even need that. You can just have a little small halo that's $10, or just shine a light in your face,
Right.
if you don't have that resource. So really, those two things I think are key in making a video that looks good.
Gotcha. So what about editing? What do you like? Do you need to have expertise in editing and putting together these kinds of, do you need a software? Do you need, what do you recommend?
Well, I am fortunate enough to know someone that does my editing for me,
Okay. Hmm.
but that is absolutely not necessary. A
Okay.
lot of websites, including Facebook, TikTok, all these websites have great editing tools built right in. So you can make your video and you can go in, and even I can do it, and I'm not that tech savvy. And you can edit your video, you can add music, you can add GIFs. There's so many things that you can add. So you don't need editing equipment. You can just do it on the site.
Great. So Patty, remember I said I wanted to come back to this question of how you switched gears due to the pandemic, right? And you were able to see an opportunity and step into that and lean into that opportunity to um, make a connection with young people based on your passion. Um, what are some of the things and the topics that are, based on what you're hearing and engaging with, that are really impacting these young people? We know, and especially as it relates to the pandemic, we hear a lot about wellness and concern about young people, meeting them where they are, and all the things that are going around right now with the uncertainty in the world. But finding and using this medium to connect with them is great, but to connect it with them in a meaningful way is really even more important, in my opinion. Can you talk a little bit about this journey of yours and what you would recommend to some of the folks who are on the call who are looking to discover similar ways of connecting with young people, and probably at that starting point of exploring social media and other video mediums to connect with young people? Just kind of maybe give us a little sense of how that is shaping with your approach here.
For me, I don't have children.
Mhm.
So, I started with just speaking with my friends and their kids. What are they interested in? What is impacting them the most?
Mhm.
So you really have to have a grassroots approach to this,
Okay.
because you you have to talk to the youth and the parents and see what's important to them. So
Mhm.
that's how I started in deciding what to do videos on, other than the things that I felt were important to me. So
Right.
yes, especially during the quarantine, there are so many concerns about keeping your children engaged during quarantine, how to keep them sane. And for me, I learned about all this just from speaking to parents
Mhm.
and doing my research. So especially in the quarantine, I think what kids want is connection. That's what they're missing. They're missing that connection with their friends. They're missing that connection with other people. There's only, so much fun you can have with the same people that your family. So I did a video on how to stay sane during quarantine, where I talked about really using the virtual platform as a way to connect, having virtual play dates, virtual game nights. You can have virtual cooking nights where each family cooks something and
Mhm.
you kind of eat together, virtual dinner parties. And really, I think one of the most important things is keeping a schedule during quarantine.
Right.
Because if you're not keeping a schedule, you're just all over the place. You don't know what day it is, what time it is, whatnot. But keeping a schedule for the youth during quarantine seems to be one of the most important factors in helping them stay on track and keep sane. You know, get up, take a shower, get dressed. If you're in your PJs all day, you're not going to be in the mindset of doing things that are productive.
Mhm. Have you found, this is kind of an aside question to drill down, have you found that some things don't work well in terms of topics or engagement? Have you, tried a topic or launched into a conversation that you attempted to do virtually, but it just wasn't didn't kind of sit right? I'm just curious in terms of the discovery process. I know, this might be something, well, just feel free, just share if whatever, to whatever extent,
Sure.
share a little bit about your experience there.
Yeah, so for me, really, I think the biggest thing was understanding that it wasn't really more topic based, but it was more based on the length of the videos.
Okay.
And because all the topics that I did, I really did from research and it seemed like people liked the topics, but sitting through a 5-minute video just seemed like it just wasn't feasible for a lot of people. So I think that's where I hit a snag. And honestly, in my YouTube videos, I have one that has like 100 and something videos, but the rest of them have about 35, 40 views. And that's not a lot of views, right?
Mhm.
So because of that, I had to just shift and figure out, okay, what's going to be the next medium. And then that's when I went to TikTok.
Gotcha, gotcha. So I know I got a couple of more questions, but I just want to put our attendees on notice to start thinking about questions for you, Patty. I'm sure many of them have questions in terms of their own social media and the work that they're doing with the quarantine. Many of our clubs, Patty, have either suspended temporarily services to youth because of the pandemic, or modified greatly the delivery mechanism for serving youth, shifting to a virtual format. Um, what are the, and we talked a little bit about this, but do you have specific tips, right, in terms of how to capture that content, or to, I know we talked about delivery, but what are the things that you would say if you were sitting down with someone and saying, these are the things that I would say you would, the do's and don'ts if you were moving into this space of using this medium, this format?
Yes, you have to keep it interesting.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is add music to the background of the videos. That's important.
Mhm.
Use GIFs or emojis or things like that. In my videos, I have people popping up here, things popping up there. If there's a great idea, you'll see a bing coming from my head. So sounds, I have, if I'm talking about a car, I have a beep beep sound in the background.
Nice.
So all these different things add up. And fortunately, like I said, a lot of the platforms now give you the ability to edit this way.
Mhm.
So the more bings and bangs and lights and things that you have, the better. I would say that that's really important, because if they're just listening to me talk without music in the background and without anything else, they're just going to be bored, whether it's for 1 minute or 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen on your videos, you do a cutaway sometimes to whether it's an athlete or someone else, or another video, just to reinforce a point that you're making, right? You could be talking about
Exactly.
something and you go, okay, well, listen to this person, and as a
Yes.
reinforcement. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah, great.
Yeah, I add memes. If I talk about a quote, then I show that person's face and the quote that they said. Anything to get them from the monotony of just looking at me the entire time is very helpful.
Great, great. Well, I don't want to, this has been great and very helpful for me, but I'm sure some folks out there may have some questions. So I'll check with Libby and the team. Do we have any questions in the chat that we want to throw to Patty?
Not yet in the chat, but I did just turn everyone's able to unmute themselves now,
Okay,
so we
perfect.
can do it that way as well.
Yeah, and please feel free to raise your hand and ask questions. I know I have a few more things I want to drill down on, but I'll wait a second or two to see if anyone wants to jump in with a question.
I have a question. Hi, this is Eleanor. I wonder how you control or manage, is probably a better word, the responses that come in from people who are watching your videos or reading your posts. And then is it overwhelming, or is it, I guess it probably depends on the subject, but based on the fact that 100 wasn't enough and, you're going for more, which is smart. I'm just curious as to how you manage that.
Honestly, this is a whole new thing that I have never experienced in my life, because when I was on YouTube, I was getting one, maybe two comments. I was begging for people to comment on my videos, And now that I'm on TikTok, it's crazy. Like, one of my videos got over 270 views, and it's been up for like 2 days right now. And it's a little provocative because I talk about, terminating someone and things that you shouldn't say to your boss. So I have gotten probably 4,000 or 5,000 comments, and anywhere from "this is great, this is exactly how you should do it" to "you're a bad manager, you're toxic, and you should die." Literally, it's like from here to here. And what I've realized, and what's really important for any platform, is your engagement with the audience. That's how they determine who's gonna see your videos, and the more engagement you have, the better. So what I try to do is I try to the comments that people make that are positive, I try to go and like every single one. Try is the operative word, right?
Yeah.
So at least they know, because if they took the time to comment on one of my videos, I should take the time to acknowledge their comment if it's nice or if it's something good. The negative comments, I try not to really go back and forth unless I find that there's a learning opportunity there with the comment. So if someone is asking a question like, "Well, you should have done this or you should have done that," they're curious. So they want to know more. So it's not just a negative comment that you're a toxic human being. It's that you raise their curiosity. So I tend to try to answer those comments in a very positive way, just to help people understand why I did something.
Right. Do you ever take them offline to a private message, or, or if it's a value, I would imagine for other people listening in, you would keep it going there, but sometimes it may be necessary.
Sure, I do take it offline, especially if someone is asking for my help personally. So I've done videos on what to put on a resume, and I'll get a few comments like, "Oh my God, I really don't know what to do with my resume," or even in interviewing, "Well, how do I improve this or that?" Specific comments I take offline. And part of the service that I want to give to my audience is, when they ask me those questions, it's my job to help, because that's what I'm doing this for. What is the point of this if I'm not going to help anybody, right?
Sure.
So I've offered for them to send me the resumes. I'll do resume checks, figure out, how they can improve their resumes, or if they have specific questions around interviewing or seeking a job. Things like that are all offline. But I make sure to do that because this is what it's about, right? It's all about this.
Mark, we have a question in the chat from Daniela. What is the average recommended length of videos? And then also Rick has a question after that.
Okay, terrific.
1 to 2 minute maximums, I would say. 1 to 2 minutes max, because again, the attention span is so short, and TikTok has ruined it for everybody because everyone's just used to watching 1 minute videos. So I would say 1 to 2 minutes.
And Patty, when you were on YouTube, those videos were longer, correct? Those were about 5 minutes, about 5 minutes or so, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Which isn't long, right? I mean,
No, it isn't. It isn't. It isn't long at all. But your point about attention span is really
apparently
critical.
it is. It's too long.
Yeah. So, Patty, Rick Goings, who's our board chair, has a question.
Hi, Rick.
Patty, firstly, this is fabulous, and thank you for doing this. And for those of you outside the U.S., to get in even to the University of Chicago's law school says you're smart, because they're always been top 10 and often top 5 in the country. So what's so wonderful about this, firstly, accolades for you that you're really interested in the social side of this, and that this is what's wonderful. By the way, my second oldest daughter, who lives in Paris, married a Persian. By the way, most people don't know that Iranians are not Arabs, they're Persians.
Thank you, yes.
They are Persians, and among some of the most educated people in the world. So, but coming off your comments, why this is so refreshing is that Glenn and I have often talked about it, is that youth clubs basically were always a place. And so proximity was key. And often some of the youth clubs, what they'd make a mistake is they'd build these palaces, and then the kids, then they had the problem of how do we transport kids to this palace rather than have, that's why you build, grammar schools close to where kids live. I just believe what you're doing here is the future of it. And I think one of the most important words in the future is not or, it's and. It is facilities and this. But what I love hearing about is your experimentation with content development, that if you do content and you don't get people to come visit, then this is not a Harvard word, your content sucks. Because so tell me though, how you are, where are your borders there with regard to what you're finding out? Okay, you're self-grading yourself every time you do this. You've talked about different places. Help us learn from that. What are some of the things you've learned? And then I'd like to ask Eleanor what she's learned for the close to 100,000 who follow me on Facebook. We've learned that some things you post, nobody says anything about it. So I'm learning from this. So that's why I'm taking copious notes. I have 2 computers open. Please, Patty.
So as far as the content is concerned, what I've understood is that you have to figure out what your niche is. That's how to get people to, really engage, is have a niche. So my niche is work focused, work and school focused, like study techniques and things like that, with some lifestyle thrown in and mental health thrown in. Okay. I found that that's really beneficial for me. And the videos that have gotten the most views and the most likes are the videos that really are something that the youth had never really thought about before. And they're like, oh, wait, yes, I never saw it this way, or I never thought of it this way. Those seem to be the—
Give us an example. Give us some examples.
I did a video on take just from the beginning of your emails and take that out. So when you're emailing someone, a lot of times we'll say just following up, just wanted to see, just asking. And I talked about how that minimizes everything that you're going to say. And you're apologizing for advance for something that you haven't even said before, because we think that by using the word just, that it's making it a little bit easier for the receiver to swallow. And that really got so many people saying, my gosh, I never even thought about this. Thank you for this. I really appreciate that. And another video I did on how to do a cover letter. And instead of me sitting up there and going, well, if you're going to apply for a job at a corporation, I said, well, if you want to apply for a job as a Mandalorian, this is what your cover letter is going to look like. So I kind of related it to Star Wars, and people love that because they can relate. So I said, you would say, as the graduate of the prestigious Mandalorian Academy, I have extensive experience in weapons training and taking care of baby Yodas, so I kind of did it that way. And people just loved it. I said I have extensive training, flight back training with over 150 hours of, backpack training. I can fly through the skies and avoid enemy fire, things like that. So those are just a few examples where people are like, oh yeah, you know what? I didn't think about it that way. And then they can relate it back to their life and be able to apply it in what they're doing.
Do you know what's so interesting? And I've got to make sure I have on the top of my screen, it says few words, Rick, shut up. And sometimes I don't listen to myself. But,
Don't listen, it's fine.
but Patty, why this is so important is that I remember one of our people that was senior, it was an officer at Tupperware, wanted to go, and this was a well-educated, wanted to move somewhere else after a change there, and they were in finance. And I looked at their resume, and I remember talking to him, and I said, James, all you talk about is a narrow finance thing. And I said, let's talk about all the things you knew and were part of. And it was like your Star Wars example. They were so narrow, and then you never fed them enough that they would say, wow, this is an interesting, adventurous person. And I think part of, particularly with our teens in clubs, we've got to teach them that how you connect out there, and because there's nobody really to do it. And that's why the youth service leaders matter so much in clubs.
Sure.
But we've got to use this medium. This is hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
We have another question in the chat from Vincia. I think that's how you pronounce it. Patty, how do you know which age group to engage, or do you only target a certain age group?
I only target really a certain age group because really you have to know what you're good at and what you're not.
Mhm.
And so I know that because I don't have children, I am not good at providing content for, I would say, anyone 13 and under. I just don't have that skill set. So for me, it's really content for people that are 13 and above and young adults that are going into, that are thinking about, they're growing up into adulthood and thinking about getting jobs, doing resumes, all of those things. I think that's where I add the most value. So wherever you're good at, whatever you know, that's the audience you should target.
Great. Hey, Patty, I had a question that popped up in my head here around your experience with big brothers and big sisters. And this question is oriented around mentorship. And just curious, right, about your thinking, because it goes back to Rick's comment around utilization of this medium. But what about mentorship? Do you see opportunities for virtual mentorship? Doing it, again, you can do it in person, but there are ways in which you can utilize this medium to connect with young people as a mentor. Just curious about your thoughts there.
Absolutely, yes. I am a big, and the way that we would connect is through FaceTime or anything like that. Right. So utilizing Zoom, FaceTime, all of those things are really good for one-on-one, but right. Even they're really good to connect with the people in the program. I suggest if you guys still can do programs virtually. For example, you could do, I don't know exactly what your niche is in your particular programs, but I would say you could do like a storytelling day, or you could do a workout program where everyone works out. There are so many things that you can do virtually, and pretty much anything that you can do in person, you could do virtually. Right. So don't be afraid to do that, because the kids are just dying for that interaction, regardless of what it is.
Great. Well, this has been fantastic. I know we're approaching our time here. I just want to check if anyone has any burning questions that they would like to ask, and maybe Patty, you can hang with us for a few minutes longer if someone Absolutely. Does have a question. Thank you.
That's nice of you to say.
Oh, that's Siri talking to me. Thank you, Siri, for that.
Weird.
Appreciate that.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in for a second. This has been so helpful, as Rick said. And one of the things he asked me to share was just the importance of the content, as you said, because content really does matter. And it matters on which platform you're using. And one of the things that we have learned is something that you post on Facebook does not resonate on LinkedIn and vice versa. And who is the audience on each of the platforms, as you've so rightly said, makes a huge difference as to the voice that you're using in how you talk to them. So we've seen a huge response to a more philosophical or relevant topic on LinkedIn that goes right over the heads of a lot of the people who are on Facebook, and they just go right past it. But if you make it funny or a little bit more personal, then they're going to pick it up. So we've learned a lot through the years working on this. We continue to learn, and I learned a lot from you today. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. One thing I just want to stress is don't be afraid to use your phone to do videos or content or anything like that, because I know I was. Again, I'm like, I don't know anything about this. I have no idea what to do, how to do it, but we can all learn. And luckily there's, something called Google, and we could just search whatever we want, and it's a wealth of information. And even on YouTube, wealth of information. You could, whatever you don't know how to do, there's a YouTube video for it. I promise you. So whatever that may be, and they will take you step by step as to how to do it. So the resources are out there. You just have to utilize them, and don't be afraid to do it. Don't be like, I don't know how to do this. Go in, trial and error. You're not going to be successful the first time you're going to do it, but I wasn't either. But after trial and error, after figuring things out, reassessing, then you'll get to a point where you understand your audience better, and then you'll get more feedback and more positive feedback for your videos and content.
Great. So Pattie, is there any suggestions, or how can our affiliates benefit from the SI videos? I want to just also share that we provided a link in the chat to your YouTube page for those who wanted to go and view it. But any suggestions? We'll just make sure we have an opportunity to connect in that way.
I think the SI factor should be used as an additional learning tool. So I've had people approach me and say, from Tutor Chest, for example, that they were like, well, our parents want to know how they can keep their kids engaged during quarantine. So I did a video on that. How the teenagers want to know how to apply for a job. I did a video on that. Teenagers want to know what's on a resume. So it's just an additional teaching tool to supplement what you're currently doing. And you could use it in a way where just to make things a little bit less monotonous and more interesting. And, oh, we have a video on this. And also on my TikTok, again, I've posted 3 videos a day since January 1. So there's a lot of content. So there's a lot of content you can just go and see. It's so easy because you'll see all the content and tells you what everything's about. And you can utilize that it's a 1-minute blurb to teach, your programs, to teach the use of your programs, a certain topic very, very quickly.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you, Pattie. This has been super, super informative, and it's been fun actually having this conversation. It's been great. So we're about to close things out here. And Libby, again, we just wanted to share with you, we're always looking to get better at doing this, these kinds of conversations. So please give us your feedback. We take that feedback and the evaluation information very seriously. And again, to Pattie's point, there's always opportunities to embrace that input and then get better. And our goal is to get better. We have some upcoming webcasts on data and program implementation, integrating into the arts or integrating arts into your programs, and then storytelling and communication through pictures. And of course, we have our annual conference coming up at the end of February. So with that, Pattie, thank you again. And thank you all for taking time wherever you are in the world. Have a great day, great evening, and we'll see you soon on the next webcast. take care. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Okay.
Rick, did you have something you wanted to add? I saw your
Yeah,
message.
Oh, wait, I didn't see that.
I
Yes,
just want to add one thing.
okay.
You know, the reason we open clubs is we want to serve young people, but I just want to reinforce, we always used to think it had to be bricks and mortar. And then we learned, oh my goodness, there are schools out there. We could put clubs in schools. I've just, it has been so slow, all of us who were, let's say, that are over 50 to utilize this. This is a club site. This is part of the community because we weren't raised with this. I mean, my God, I didn't have my first computer till 25 years ago, but this is now, go online and look for sites where there are 6-year-olds using iPads. Now, I know in many of our developing nations of the world, kids don't have those kinds of things, but someone does. We've got to find a way to utilize. This is the way we can reach more and serve more youth. It's the and from the buildings to the other sites to this is a site. And that's why, Mark, I felt this was a fabulous use of time today, and we got to get better at it. And Patty, you're terrific, and you just are. And
Thank you
if
so
you're not
much.
in litigation, you should be, because boy, could you dazzle a jury.
I was a prosecutor for a long time.
Oh,
So,
I could see. Oh, yeah.
but
Time well spent.
thank you guys for the opportunity. And Mark,
Thank you, Patty.
you're really amazing at this, man. Wow.
Oh, wow. You know, it was a good
You're
partnership,
my
Patty.
socks off. You're a
It was a good
very
partnership.
no, you're a great moderator. I've done a lot of these,
Yeah.
and you're really a pro. So
Yeah,
before
really.
I sign off, I just wanted to thank you guys for just giving me the opportunity. It was a lot of fun,
Yeah,
and I'm happy to help with if anyone has any questions. You know, I'm happy to help. Share my email, whatever.
What
I
is your email? Will you, what?
It's success via information at gmail.com. It's very,
Okay.
yeah.
and Rick, we'll send that out to everyone so they have it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And Patty, come back, and because we're on this journey together in all of these countries and in how to do this, because everybody's been out there pretty much, you know, kind of having to do their own thing and learning it. As we go into this new world, we've got to learn how to do this better.
Absolutely. I'm happy to come back anytime you'd like.
All
Yeah.
right.